Here it is mid-June. This is the Primo growing season. We've got 18 hours of sunlight every day, pretty much, and another couple hours of light beyond that. With adequate rain and it's getting warmer, things are really starting to heat up. So I'll give a little update this morning on what's happening in specific plants, but yeah, just enjoy. Some Chinese machichi cabbage, but really I think it's what I would call Chinese broccoli. Our first harvest of the year was yesterday. Some nice sauteed cabbage from this plant, which is a volunteer in my flower boxes. I'm actually growing a bunch more down in that bed below, and I got to harvest that as well. As you can see from the plant, beautiful thick stalks, very edible, lush leaves, and it had a stalk that looked like a broccoli stalk, and the whole thing was delicious. My geraniums, these were planted from seed. As we zero in, you can see hail damage on the leaves. They got beat up pretty good a couple weeks ago, but you know, they're coming along. As we see, flowers are just starting to form up. So it's mid-June. We're gonna have flowers in about a week, and they'll last for 3 to 4 months. One of my strawberry boxes, these strawberries I overwintered inside, and they just kind of held on over the winter, but you know, I refreshed the soil a couple of months ago, put them outside, and with the good fertilization and watering, we're starting to put out a bunch of flowers, so we'll be eating fresh strawberries again for the next 3 months. And flowering blooms on my Hot Wings maple. See the beautiful color in the leaves. They're nice little white flowers, and after they flower, they form little helicopter seedlings, and but they're brilliant red, just beautiful. And of course, in the fall, the tree turns red and orange, so it's a real nice addition into the garden. Here's 2 flowers that come early and are beautiful perennials. Bleeding Heart, which I planted underneath this Evans cherry, and it's actually spreading by seed to 2 other spots in that bed, so hopefully that'll fill in that whole corner here eventually. And then across the stairs, a beautiful lilac, just magnificent bloom right now, and you know, I got to keep it cut back because I don't have that much space, but it's doing fantastic right now. Look at those lilacs, they're just gorgeous. It's a common lilac. The fragrance is magnificent right now. Beautiful flowers. It'll last a couple of weeks, and then I prune it right away and allow it to establish buds for next year. The other side of my Bleeding Heart that's been good for several years, and here's the new plants that are growing up on the other side of the tree. So again, hopefully it'll just fill in this whole area. Beautiful flowers. Yeah, my granddaughter loves those. This Bleeding Heart. Want to see a harsh growing environment? How about this? Rock, landscape fabric, even the dandelions are struggling. One thing that's not struggling are my red raspberry transplants. This overwintered under 7 feet of snow and ice, and it's getting ready to fruit. So it'll be my first harvest from here. We've also got other plants, raspberries getting established, and hopefully this is going to be a nice raspberry patch in a couple of years. Update on the Jerusalem artichokes. They have arrived. You can see this flower right here. There's a couple. There's one in there, one there, and it's bulging up. It took over a month to come, but I think we're going to have some nice flowers here eventually. Watch my potato hilling video, my last one, with my helpers. Here it is, 3 days later, and the potatoes have grown 10 to 12 inches. As you can see here, this was basically 2 inches above the soil level, and it's a good foot now. So massive growth. Here's another barrel. These ones have grown 6 to 8 inches. Just incredible production on these potato leaves. The bare root jostaberry that I put in May the 17th, it's doing great. And just behind is the hazel burt, one of two. It's going to bush up to be quite large. That's coming along nicely. Another jostaberry in the background there that I put in last edition. I put in bare root a month ago. Sea buckthorn, it's a female. Another female and the male over there. The male's kind of small, but whatever. Put it in the understory of this crabapple tree to fill in, and it's done fabulous. Siberian pea shrub. It's very hardy, and it's a nitrogen fixer. So this is a drooping one, and it's just in flower now. Beautiful little flowers, and it produces little mini pods that drop to the ground. They spread all over, so that's a bit of an issue, but you know, keep it in check. It's a nice thing to have here. Achillea, or yarrow, that I planted in the mulch, they're getting established, and hopefully will provide a nice splash of color here on my pathway. Sprayed like 40,000 seeds, mostly clovers and wildflowers, and you can see there's a bunch of clovers popping through right through the wood chips. That's exciting. So I'm looking forward another month or so to see what comes up, because I'd really love this to be a lush bank of all-season blooming wildflowers and clovers, which will help feed the garden and feed my soul with their beauty. Bed is being overtaken by lupins, which is just fine with me. Lupins are a nitrogen fixer. They spread like mad and beautiful flowers. Here's the earliest blooms that are just getting ready to pop. And again, these will be in full bloom if I cut back the spent blooms for 3 to 4 months. An update on the Pollard post vertical system. As you can see down below, I got sugar snap peas, and even the pole beans are coming out. They've all come up. There's a little spinach, and you can see that sugar snap is reaching for the wire. So in another week, they'll all be up on the wire, growing vertically up this trellis. The things I'm doing is planting for bees, but also providing a home. So this is a bee house, and they lay the eggs in there, and they've got activity in at least 2 of the holes. So it was successful, and hopefully will increase our bee population dramatically. About this hoop house, I certainly am. I did it to protect from bugs for my brassicas, But interestingly, it's made a dramatic difference in the growing of plants. Let's take a look inside. We'll go inside. If you check on my garden structures under my playlist and go to the James Prioni video where he goes through the details of making this, you can see how easy it is. Here it is. And looking inside, look at those beautiful radishes, white icicle radishes. There's my rutabagas, which is sprouted and they're doing great. My kale, this is dinosaur kale. This is like 5 times better than anything outside. Leeks are over a foot tall. And the cabbages and broccoli are also doing great. So I might have to consider putting some sort of protection on the other beds, because it dramatically increases the growth and size of my plants. This plum tree, this Mount Royal plum, I'm trying to replace these dandelions with edibles and other useful plants. So put in strawberry that hopefully will spread. Put in some flowers in there that are just coming up. And this little guy here, borage, which as you can see is getting established, but it's about 2 inches high. Borage will grow 3 to 4 feet. I can chop and drop, let it flower, and has profuse blue star-like flowers, and that attract bees. And also it's a nitrogen fixer. So hopefully fix some nitrogen into the soil, will seep into my bed. Raspberries, here's the bed that we trimmed up in the last video. So a lot of short stems, but they're coming along. It's setting fruit. As you can see here, these little gray clusters are fruit clusters with flowers and fruits to come shortly. And these stems, you look here on this plant, you know, that stem on Friday, like 4 days ago, was only this long, and now it's tripled in size. So again, each of these stems is going to grow out to be about a foot long in all directions. Troughs are coming. Here we see we put in a garden salad mix, and there's a bunch of stuff coming up there. So I expect another week or two we'll be harvesting out of these 2 troughs. A note of note in these hanging baskets, where I've got pansies and petunias. The pansies, although the plants are very small, they've thrown out flowers very early. Again, if I deadhead those, they'll keep flowering right into November. But beautiful flowers, but very small. I'm guessing that's because they're crowded and they're taking advantage of reproducing early on, or at least trying to. This machiche cabbage, you can see this long stalk here, broccoli-like head. And I've got to come down here and do some harvesting. But you also notice that they're not anywhere near as lush as the ones that were pampered up in my flower box up on the deck. Some cabbage that's grown outside. Notice the leaves, they were decimated by hail a couple of weeks ago. But they're coming along, stems are broken off. They're coming along, not as nice as the ones in the hoop house, but still looking good. Look at my cattle panel arches. This side here, I've got the Super Sugar Snap climbers, and they're now putting out tendrils and grabbing onto the wire, so they'll be growing up for the next. Here are my pole beans. We need the next shot of growth and new leaves, and they'll grab onto the wire and start heading north as well. I'm still working on is drip irrigation. I'm putting in drip irrigation in all these beds. So I've got a header off a main line, and it goes into the bed, and then off of this I'm going to have 5 tapes, drip tapes, that go the length of these beds to feed the beds, make that easier. And each line will have a shut-off, the whole bed will have a shut-off, and I'll put the whole system on a timer so to flow several hours a day. In here in a good light position last year. It did well, and it's come up very nicely. It's new growth and it's spreading, so again, I just hope it continues to spread by rhizomes and fill in this whole space. Here's my post with this Virginia creeper has finally leafed out, and it's going to take over everything. I'm going to massively hack it back to keep it under control, but it's beautiful, and you know, if you want it to spread, it'll spread 20-30 feet if you let it. Here's my strawberry transplants. I put in bare root a month ago, a little over a month ago. They're flowering, they're getting established, they're doing great. And here's my last hascap, starting to send out some buds, so it looks like it's going to survive. And in this little patch by the door, I got some cabbage or broccoli volunteers that are doing great too. I'll just let them grow and harvest them here. Never know what you're going to get in the garden. Transplant. I believe this is a lissome or carpet of snow. There, you can see that better. This one's blooming. It's only been in the ground for like 10 days. That's going to spread and mound very low, lots of flowers, and again, fill in this space here. In behind is my lily patch, and got a bunch of lilies coming up. There's one here. Have to be especially careful for the 12-spotted lily beetle. It's orange with black spots on it. I don't see any right now, but yeah, they devastate the patch if you're not careful. Next thing to flower are my peonies, and I've got half a dozen of those. The bush I transplanted 2 years ago. It's doing great. Flower heads are just getting ready to pop, and you know, they last 10 days. It's just a magnificent flower that comes out around the beginning of July. So a nice succession plant. Eastern Calipanel and the poppies, Oriental Poppies, are in full bloom. These things are very invasive, so you've got to cut the seed heads off or they're going to take over. But they're beautiful, and you know, we enjoy them for what they are. Now down below, you see I've got lupins coming in, and here's a golden raspberry that I put in bare root, and it's coming very nicely. And although my thornless blackberries are struggling with 2 out of 4 not doing much, I've got one right here that's doing great. So even if the other ones don't make it, this one will grow up, and I can tip propagate along this whole fence and get a lot of blackberries in here just as planned. A bed that I've converted to asparagus with carrots on the outside, tomatoes in the corner. Tomatoes are struggling, but the carrots have come up fine, and the asparagus is really shooting up. I'm impressed. You can see some of the stalks coming up, which is very positive. So hopefully they'll get established this year, and then next year, the year after, I'll have great harvest. The hothouse, My transplant peppers are flowering and looking nice. The rest of the stuff is coming. Tomatoes have really shot up, so that's positive. And we're starting to get some flowers there, so I'm gonna have to start pruning those, tying them up shortly. And my grow bags at the back, sunflowers are 2 feet tall, and you know, my zucchini, summer squash, pumpkin, you know, they're doing pretty well and starting to flower, but no fruit yet. See, on this bed, the peas are shaded a bit, so I think they like that because it's a little cooler. But they are just popping up. They're already connecting into the trellis, and they're about 8 inches tall. So they're looking good. Little guys. Those pops of color are just beautiful. Flowering, the cherries, they're the last things to flower of my fruit trees. This one's got just the odd one. You see a lot of fruit set here, so I'm gonna have to come out and thin that before too long. But yeah, it's looking good. So that's it for today, just a quick update. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit the like button, subscribe, and invite your friends. And I'll just share with you my journey getting things established up here in southern Alberta, and hopefully you enjoy what you see. Thank you.